Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Dr. Makhan Sekia's talk on foreign affairs. I welcome you once again. Today we are going to discuss another very serious conflict, that is Nagorno Karabakh conflict. These days all the TV channels and news media is flooded with the Israel-Hamas conflict. But just before the Israel-Hamas conflict, there was a conflict between, Azerbaijan and Armenia. So let's have a look at this conflict. It is popularly known as Nagorno Karabakh conflict. Now, here in the map, I'm showing you the area that is Nagorno Karabakh. That's an area between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And you can clearly see here the yellow portion, that is the territory of Azerbaijan under the control of Armenia today. But now the thing has changed, and you can see the brownish one territory, that is Nagorno Karabakh, wherein the conflict has taken place. Now let's have a look at the conflict. What is the origin of the conflict? Why this has happened? The conflict in Nagorno Karabakh region is more than 3 decades old now. The disputed territory lies in the mountainous South Caucasus region, located between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. It is known as Artsakh to Armenians. Interestingly, this landlocked region falls within the sovereign borders of Azerbaijan, but it is largely populated by the ethnic Armenians. That's the problem. That's the root cause of the problem. It is internationally recognized as a part of Azerbaijan. Currently, it is home to more than 120,000 Armenians who does not want to be under the control of Azerbaijan. Both Azerbaijan and Armenia fought in the 1980s and in the 1990s to take control over this hilly region, but failed to do so in the past. Now, let's see the historical background of the conflict. As the conflict has resurfaced again, now, it is worth looking at the historical background of the issue. In 1923, the first leader of the USSR, Vladimir Lenin, who ruled the country from 1917 to 1924, created the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast within the Azerbaijan Soviet Socialist Republic. It was then home to 95% ethnic Armenian population. The problem started in 1988, just 2 years before the dissolution or disintegration of the USSR, when the regional legislatures of Nagorno-Karabakh passed a resolution indicating its desire to join Armenia despite the region being an integral part of Azerbaijan. See the problem? It is very much understood that ethno-national has been playing, ethno-nationalistic politics has been playing a vital role in mobilizing people for nationhood since the beginning of modern civilization. This has been happening across the world, and this had strongly influenced the Armenians living in this particular enclave, and they had gradually prepared themselves to be a part of neighboring Armenia. Then what happened? With the disintegration of the USSR in 1991, both Armenia and Azerbaijan became two independent nations. Meanwhile, the Nagorno Karabakh Oblast proclaimed independence, which led to heavy fighting between Armenia and Azerbaijan. By 1993, the Armenian security forces occupied the region and also gained control over 20% of the geographical area neighboring Azerbaijan. In 1994, the first leader of the Russian Federation, Boris Yeltsin, managed to negotiate a peace deal known as Bishkek Protocol between the two former Soviet republics. But it did not solve the territorial dispute and left the Nagorno Karabakh region de facto independent. Peace between the two warring neighbors, Azerbaijan and Armenia, were maintained for some time with the power or might of Moscow. But once the USSR disintegrated, these peripheral republics became conscious about their rights, priorities, sovereign frontiers, and tried to reset their external relations with other nations around the globe. What are the recent events now? From 1994 to 2015, there was peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but in 2016, heavy fighting started again between the two neighbors. And then in late September 2020, fresh clashes broke out along Azerbaijan Nagorno Karabakh border. In this, Azerbaijan regained much of the territory from Armenia and left a small portion of Karabakh to Armenia. The war came to an end with a Russia-brokered peace deal in November 2020. The most striking feature of this agreement was the establishment of the Lachin Corridor that allowed Armenia to connect to Nagorno-Karabakh enclave strictly monitored by the peacekeeping forces from the Russian Federation. Now, the main trouble started in December 2022 when activists from Azerbaijan blocked the Lachin Corridor, blocking all the supply coming to Nagorno-Karabakh from Armenia. This further led to the opening of a checkpoint by the Azerbaijan government on the corridor, alleging the supply of arms to Armenian separatists in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Because the Azerbaijan government felt, this corridor was used to send arms to the separatists of Armenian origin in this particular enclave. To put an end to the hostilities between the two neighbors, the US, Russia, and the European Union hosted talks with the representatives from Baku and Yerevan. Baku is the capital of Azerbaijan and Yerevan is the capital of Armenia. And finally, the Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev made considerable progress towards peace after the constant intervention of the big powers and the UN pressure to maintain tranquility in the region. It is good for the international community that Pashinyan recognized the entire Nagorno-Karabakh enclave as the sovereign territory of Azerbaijan. It was a great and surprising moment. And he also equally emphasized that Baku must respect the internationally recognized boundary of Armenia and ensure the protection of ethnic Armenians living in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Now, what happened in the Nagorno-Karabakh region? On September 19, 2023, the days after opening the Lachin border, people from both sides of the frontier hoped that normalcy would be back to the disputed territory. This deal came as a result of an understanding between the Azerbaijan government and the Armenian separatists of the Nagorno Karabakh Oblast. The agreement was to reopen two disputed transport routes, which include a crucial link road known as Lachin Corridor, as I have already talked to you about this. What has really worsened the ground situation is that for the last more than 9 months, Azerbaijan authorities are tightly restricting the movements of the Armenian government with the Nagorno Karabakh Oblast through the Lachin corridor. Earlier, the Azerbaijan accused Armenia of smuggling arms and ammunitions by using this route to the Nagorno Karabakh. How the current fight or clash started? When the historic deal was sealed between the two nations, the self-proclaimed Republic of Nagorno-Karabakh declared the election of a new president named Samvel Shahramayanan for it simultaneously. That was the striking point. And this, as erected by the Azerbaijan government, declared as illegal. For Baku, this election is purely illegal. It called the government a puppet separatist regime, which is there at the heart of all troubles between the two nations. While echoing concerns for a new flare-up, the Azerbaijani Foreign Ministry reiterated that the only way to achieve peace and stability in the region is the unconditional and complete withdrawal of the Armenian armed forces from the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan and disbandment of the puppet regime. Meanwhile, both Ukraine and Turkey extended support to Azerbaijan for its claim over the Karabakh and denounced the election held in that region. The European Union have taken a very cautious stand by saying that it did not recognize the election but wanted the people of the Nagorno Karabakh to consolidate around its de facto leadership while dealing with Armenia. Now, mass exodus of ethnic Armenians are taking place. Many in Armenia are apprehending that its people in Nagorno-Karabakh enclave might witness a genocide in 2023, this year. The way Baku is acting and bringing the disputed territory within its sovereign fold is alarming. We all are aware about the Armenian genocide of 1950, when the Armenian origin people were massacred in Anatolia in today's Turkey. It's ironical that the US had been silent over the Armenian genocide till 2021, and only in that year President Biden finally recognized it in public. At the moment, the ethnic Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh Oblast need the support of the global governance institutions like the UN and the intervention of great powers like the US, the Russian Federation, and the European Union to prevent a possible genocide in the Nagorno-Karabakh enclave. Now, there are constant threats coming from Azerbaijan. What is really worrying is the message coming from Baku and President Aliyev. In the past, Aliyev did not respect the verdict of the International Court of Justice, ICJ, that asked Baku to reopen the Lachin corridor. Even he has repeatedly ignored requests from the UN and the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken to comply with the ruling of the ICJ. His government has assured the international community that reintegration will bring development and prosperity to Nagorno Karabakh. But what is shocking is that since 2010, Aliyev has been reputedly saying that Armenia itself is Western Azerbaijan. That's very, very dangerous because he's repeatedly, telling people that, Armenia does not exist. In last December, he said that present-day Armenia is our land. Again, for years, Azerbaijan claims that Armenia is an illegitimate state. These are seriously warning signals for the whole world, for Armenia and for the conflict-ridden Nagorno Karabakh. Now, what is the road ahead? Currently, the Azerbaijani forces have fully occupied the Nagorno Karabakh region, and its separatist leaders have laid down their arms. But thousands of ethnic Armenians are fleeing to Armenia, fearing for life and sudden change of the status quo. It's time for the international community to secure the future of the ethnic Armenians in Azerbaijan. President Aliyev must see to it that peace and tranquility returns to the Nagorno-Karabakh region. He should not aspire for more and further escalate the crisis. Else, pressure on Pashtun might lead the Armenian forces to retake the oblast, which might trigger a bloody war in the region. Time has come to farewell to arms from both Baku and Yerevan. This is a very, very serious crisis. Already, the world is grappling with one serious crisis, that is the war between Russia and Ukraine, and another has already erupted now between Israel and the Hamas. And this Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, if it goes beyond the reach of the international governance system, it will be again a disaster in the Central Asian region. And this will be also very dangerous for both Russia and another powerful neighbors like Turkey and everyone. So, our appeal is that very soon peace should be established between the two nations, and people of Nagorno-Karabakh must get their basic rights, which is due for them. Friends, thank you so much for watching my videos. I request you to share, subscribe, and like my videos. Also, kindly watch my other two channels, Dr. Makhan's IKS Talk on National Affairs and Political Science by Dr. Makhan. I'll be bringing you lots of interesting and crucial topics like this in my next videos. Thank you once again. Bye-bye.